Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The small one-story cottage was situated in a quiet suburb, a short walk from the beach. The backyard was enclosed by trees and shrubs, and the neighborhood bloomed with fragrant roses. But the weather was often blustery and the sky grey, and Swamiji talked of going to India, not only for his health, however. He told Ketananda and Gaudasundara he wanted to start in Vrindavan an American house, a place where his American disciples could learn Vedic culture to help them reach all over the world. He also said he wanted to make some of his disciples, Ketananda, Brahmananda, Hayagriva, into sannyasis, but he would do that also in India. His real work, however, was in America, if he could just regain his health. But where was the sunshine? In India, he could get sunshine and Ayurvedic treatment, but his plans would vary from one day to another. San Francisco, Montreal, India, New York. He told Ketananda to inform the devotees in San Francisco that if they held a Rath Yatra festival, he would come. And he did, didn't he? Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. I'm just reading Without Fear by Rupa Vilas Prabhu. And Srila Prabhupada, he's talking, he says, how many disciples do I have? And they say, I think it's Danavir Maharaj, actually, His Divine Grace. He says 10,000. And he says, okay, if each of them makes 10,000 disciples, how many do we have? And they worked out it was 100 million. So he wanted everyone to take 10,000 disciples. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 5, entitled Narada Muni Cursed by Prajapati Daksha. So this bit is where he starts getting quite angry. So starting from 32, yeah. And then we read through, okay. Shukadeva Goswami continued, O best of the advanced Aryans, after saying this much to the sons of Prajapati Daksha, Narad Muni, whose merciful glance never goes in vain, left as he had planned. The sons of Daksha followed their elder brothers, not attempting to produce children, and they engaged themselves in Krishna consciousness. 33. Salvalashvas took to the correct path, which is obtainable by a mode of life meant to achieve devotional service or the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Like knights that have gone to the west, they have not returned even until now. Anyone ever heard that expression before? Like knights that have gone to the west. Is that something from India? Like knights that have gone to the west. Yeah. Like the knights have disappeared by going to the west. They have not returned until now. Well, I'm not too proud to say I don't understand that.
Well, when the sun rises in the east and the night is moving westward, and then it doesn't return until evening.
The sun doesn't. So when it's saying nights, yeah.
Moving to the west because the sun rises west and it's still dark there now. So it's made in comparison.
Yeah. Okay, I'll have to. Sometimes you have to put things on the back burner and let it simmer. And then you chant your japa and you get an epiphany. Oh. At this time, Prajapati Daksha observed many inauspicious signs, and he heard from various sources that his second group of sons, the Savalasvas, had followed the path of their elder brothers in accordance with the instructions of Narad. So why inauspicious signs? They're taken to devotional service, they're going to go back to Godhead. Why would there be inauspicious signs? You're going to ask that question. Inauspicious for Daksha. Yeah, but in the cosmic order of things, I mean, generally what's going on around you, the natural phenomena, isn't pertaining to one particular person's misfortune, is it? It's to the general. Okay, so text 35 has got a purport, so we'll go through the Sanskrit. Chukroda Naradaya so. Chukroda Naradaya so. Putra Shoka Vimuchita. Putra Shoka Vimuchita. Devashim Upalabhyaha. Devashim Upalabhyaha. Roshad Vispuriti Dadara. Roshad Vispurita Dara. Chukroda Naradaya so. Putra Shoka Vimuchita. Devashem Upalabhyaha. Roshad Vispurita Dara. Chukroda Naradaya yaso. Putra Shoka Vimuchita. Devashem Upalabhyaha. Roshad Vispurita Dara. Chukroda Naradaya so. Putra Shoka Vimuchita. Devashem Upalabhyaha. Roshad Vispurita Dara.
Shukrodhanardaya so. Putra Shoka Vimurchita. Devashim Upalabhyaha. Roshad Vispuritataraha.
Shukrodhanardayeshu Putra Shoka Vimurchita Devarshim Upalabhyaya Roshad Vispuritatara.
Chukroda became very angry. Naradaya at the sage Narad Muni. Aso, that one Daksha. Putra Shoka, due to lamentation for the loss of his children. Vimuchita, almost fainting. Devashim, the great sage Devashin Narad. Upalabhya, seeing. Aha, he said. Roshat, out of great anger. Vispurita, trembling. Adara, whose lips. Translation. When he heard that the Savalasvas had also left this world to engage in devotional service, Daksha was very angry at Narad, and he almost fainted due to lamentation. When Daksha met Narad, Daksha's lips began trembling in anger, and he spoke as follows. Responsibly, please. When he heard that the Savalasvas had also left this world to engage in devotional service, Daksha was angry at Narad. And he almost fainted due to lamentation. When Daksha met Narad, Daksha's lips began trembling in anger. And he spoke as follows. Papa Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur comments that Narada Muni had delivered the entire family of Swayambhuva Manu, beginning with Priyavrata and Uttanapad. He had delivered Uttanapad's son, Dhruva, and he'd even delivered Prachani Bahai, who was engaged in fruitive activities. Nevertheless, he did not deliver Prajapati Daksha. Prajapati Daksha saw Narad before him because Narad had personally come to deliver him. Narada Muni took the opportunity to approach Prajapati Daksha in his bereavement because the time of bereavement is a suitable time for appreciating Bhakti Yoga. Stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.16, 4 kinds of men: Arta, one who is distressed; Atati, one in need of money; Gigyasu, one who is inquisitive; and Jnani, a person in knowledge. Trying to understand devotional service, Prajapati Daksha was in great distress because of the loss of his sons, and therefore Narad took the opportunity to instruct him regarding liberation from material bondage. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Malitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchikapatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Parijanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So Daksha wasn't happy. And then Narada Muni had come. Interestingly enough, Narada Muni hadn't just come to own up that it was him, but he'd actually come to deliver Daksha because he thought, well, he's really bereaved right now. So this is a good time. So that's one thing to watch out for. Usually when you feel very begrieved, aggrieved, distressed, disappointed, that's usually when it's the most difficult for someone to preach to you. Because the false ego is there, and you're thinking, well, who's he to tell me that he understands? Like Prabhupada was saying the other day, you could think this person's very condescending. He's thinking he can advise me, and so then it breaks down the communication. That could take place. You could also be very receptive, but there would need to be a certain amount of humility there as well. Otherwise, there's plenty of distressed people going around, but not many of them are taking up Krishna consciousness because their distress has closed them down, and therefore it's difficult to communicate to them. One of the symptoms of a person suffering from depression is that they can't envision the future. They can only exist in the now. And you say, oh, what are you planning to do next week? We've got the Holy Festival coming. Are you going to? Oh, I don't know. I'm just trying to get through right now, actually. So that's what distress can do. It can close you down. It can help you. Like it can be that, that's a good opportunity. Narad thought, well, maybe because he's bereaved, then he can be one of these 4 types of people. Arta, one who's distressed, can take up Krishna consciousness. And, it certainly is a precursor, but it's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee that because you're feeling totally bewildered and confused and discouraged in your devotional service, there's no guarantee that when somebody comes along to give you advice that you're going to take it. So what you could do when you're in good consciousness, you could think, I'm probably not going to be in good consciousness all the time. How am I going to get ready for when I'm not? And somebody maybe sees the need to preach to me. Am I going to be able to keep open the lines of communication so that the person can reach in and pull me out? That's why it's good. It's good to have good relationships with devotees, not just sugar-coated relationships. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. I'll be nice to you if you be nice to me. That's not real relationships. The real relationship is where you can be in extreme distress and difficulty, and you can reach out to somebody and know that that person's going to be your well-wisher, that he's got your back. And it's good to establish that relationship beforehand, because when you are in distress and you're confused and discouraged, it's very difficult then to run around trying to find somebody. Whereas if you've already got the relationship, listen, maybe I'm going to go nutty in a few days. Can you just get my back? Just be there for me, because I'm on a crest of a wave right now, but I can't stay on that forever. I'm going to come crashing down onto some rocks. Can you be there when I'm like that and put me back together? So it's good to have deep relationships. If you have a deep relationship with somebody, then even you can disagree, you can have some argument, but still the relationship is there. Otherwise, if you don't have a very deep emotional bank account with the people around you, then you can become an offender from a word. An offender from one word. You can be written off. You just say the one word wrong, that's it. Don't anything, sorry, you don't exist anymore. Whereas if you have a deep emotional bank account, then somebody may say something or do something, and it may upset you, but you think, no, I really like this person. There must be a reason for it. Let me just wait and see, let me be patient. Anyway, in this case, Daksha's not going to listen. And it's interesting that even, Prabhupada says, even Prachanabahi, who was like killing loads of animals and was really, deeply entrenched, much more than Daksha. But even he was able to be delivered, but Daksha wasn't able to be delivered. So it's a nice illustration also for us as your qualification for making advancements in Krishna consciousness isn't based upon how well you can play the flute or how well you can walk on a tightrope or how well you can cook carrots with your eyes closed while reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam backwards. But it's really based upon how deep are your loving relationships with the other devotees. That's your real resource. Sudha Bhakta Chalana Retu, the creeper of devotional service. Shuddha Bhakta is nourished by the association of devotees. So if you have good relationships with the devotees and the devotees love you, then I'll carry you through wherever disqualifications. And you can have so many fancy qualifications, and if the devotees don't like you, who was saying the other day, somebody was giving class, and they were saying, I think it was actually you, Prajuna, saying sometimes a devotee thinks, I think I'm going to read Easy Journey to Other Temples. I've had enough of these guys. They really annoy me. I think I'm just going to move on to greener pastures, So you think that you've made the decision to move on. I think there was a story like that with Srila Prabhupada, one of his disciples. The disciple came up to Prabhupada and he said, Govinda is calling me. And I have to go now to Vrindavan. And when he left, Prabhupada said, Govinda's not calling you. He said, you can go out. So you wouldn't be aware of that unless you were able to. If you have good relationship, the good thing is you can get feedback. And the feedback's not going to be, just against you. It's going to be for you, And it's not always bad. Not all feedback is bad. Feedback is good quite often. I really like the way you did that. I really liked the prasadam you made today. But not that we just get the good feedback. It's like there's one devotee when he's cooking, and you say, oh, it's really nice. And he says, no, come on, tell me, really, what is it? No, it's not. No, come on. Was there enough salt? And he's pushing to try and get the feedback where he can improve, So that's a nice quality to have. Any questions or comments?
When is there a guarantee that we preach and preaching is going to be successful?
There isn't. There isn't. Next. Yeah, there's no guarantee. We're not, and we're unconditional. We're not looking for guarantees. The only guarantee is that we can try to the best of our ability. It's like there's one devotee that I'm working with, and there's something that I'm thinking, he could be a lot more conscientious, but rather than saying something, I've been praying, Krishna, can you? And he's becoming more conscientious. So sometimes you may preach to somebody, it may not work, but you could pray for them, and that could work, And also, it may not seem to work because they maybe don't want to instantaneously admit, It may take them time to go off and process that. And it's just too much for them to just there and then, you confront them, blah, 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 and then they come up with their reasons and their excuses. But then when they get around the corner, they think, yeah, he was right, I just couldn't admit it to his face, but I'll slowly kind of come round. And then you don't say anything. Oh, see, I told you I was right. You're just like, oh, okay, like that. So that there's an art actually. Preaching isn't just jumping in front of somebody, putting a little box and then jumping on top of it and saying, it says in the Bhagavad Gita, and it says in the Bhagavatam, and this sloka, and that sloka, and this sloka, and that sloka. You know? Preaching's more about how you fan that person's spark for spiritual consciousness, for spiritual life. You fan that, and you really get the person more and more enthused to want to really do this, you know. And that's why we have to chant good rounds, because if you're chanting good rounds, then you're relishing your Krishna consciousness, and then others are like, okay, that's what I want. I want to be like that, you know. I want to get that same. That's why we all came to Krishna consciousness, isn't it? We've seen devotees and we thought, I want to be like that. I want to experience what he's experiencing. So that's also how we preach, by being Krishna conscious. Not just by, you know, a narrative going on, you know, a dialogue. Because sometimes you may have to wait, you may have to just bide your time for when you think the person is able to accept it, or you may just keep praying for the person, you know. And the person starts to pick up.
We see those who are in sense gratification, very much in sense enjoyment. It's difficult for them to take on the message, say, because they think I'm all right, and furthermore. And then like people who are distressed as well, they're too depressed, like they cannot think, they cannot take it. Like you mentioned, there has to be some humility for them to take it. They may find it condescending. So is there an audience where we can say, okay, whom to best to preach then?
Is there an audience?
Yeah, whom best to preach as such?
An audience that's especially receptive. Well, we have to kind of shift away from this immediate kind of time window that I'm going to communicate something now and then something's going to happen. It's more kind of long term with their people, you know, and cultivating people, preaching to people. And the audience, well, the entire audience around you, you know, whether it's a cave, an insect, a plant, a person, any living entity that comes in contact with the vibration of the holy name, and the more pure your vibration, the more it will have an effect upon their hearts, you know. It's interesting, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, he did do some preaching, but his main preaching was that he was chanting really purely. And I'm not sure who said it, but it was said of him anyway, that his chanting held back the tide of Kali Yuga. It had such a powerful effect. Now you could say, well, how many temples did he open this week? How many disciples has he initiated? You could look at it like that and think, well, he's not doing much preaching, is he? Or you could look at it from the internal point of view and think, well, he's saving the entire planet just by being here and chanting and doing his bhajan. He's drawing Krishna's attention, and then you get the blessings go everywhere, you know. So there's three levels, isn't there, of seeing how we're preaching. The first is the Kanishta level. Kanishtas are looking to see how many temples are opened, how many books are distributed, how many years have you been doing it, how much cash have you made. That's Kanishta. Very well, Prabhu. Did you have a good day yesterday? Yeah, it was nice. Yeah? Yeah, you had a good day? Yeah? And what he's really saying, how much money did you collect, you know? How many books? Well, it was a nice day, Prabhu. I had some nice realization. Yeah, but how much, you know. And then there's the Madhyama stage, which is what's going on internally. How much are we preaching to ourselves? We're thinking, I'm going to save these people, I'm going to preach to them. How much have we taken it off? Are we going to be doing the same thing in 10 years? How deep has the holy name gone into us? How much are we affected? How conscious of Krishna are we? How aware? How much faith? So that's Madhyama. You're looking at what's going on internally. And then Uttama Adhikari, chanting Shuddhanam. Then you know who you are. And you can see that there's a whole pastime taking place, and the plan is unfolding. Because Krishna showed Arjuna in the 11th chapter, he said that it's already done. So Lord Chaitanya, I was thinking with the Bhagavad Gita as it is, you know, I do that little skip at the end of the year. So it comes to the 11th chapter, And Krishna Dasa's Sankirtan leader could show Arjuna Das that everyone's already been touched by Lord Chaitanya's mercy. Do you want to go and distribute the books or not? Either way, it's going to happen, you know, like that. I mean, it's inconceivable that, well, personally anyway, that I'm here chanting and running around with a dhoti on. That's inconceivable. So it's how it's going to happen, how it's going to spread is also difficult to understand. And the audience, yeah, we did find particular towns were better than others. There was one time we were at one town, and it was that bad. We decided to go to another town, you know. But usually it's more like I was doing Sankirtan with one devotee, and he came over and he says, "How you doing?" He was on the other side of the street. He says, "How you doing?" This is really good. Meeting some really nice people, and they want to come to the temple. And he goes, "Oh," he says, "on my side of the street, it's terrible, absolutely terrible." He said, "I'm meeting all the weirdos." He said, "Would you mind if we? Would you mind doing my side for a little bit, and I can meet the good guys?" So we swapped over, and then he came up about half an hour. He goes, "Oh, how you doing?" I said, "I've been meeting somebody." He goes, "All the weird ones are going onto my side now. They've all gone on this side of the road." So the audience is the mirror of yourself is reflected in people's response to you. You see, that's why Sankirtan is like you can fudge it. You know, if you're just doing something back at the temple, you're not so sure, but when you're approaching the conditioned souls, they're just going to react. You know, you could tell them you're a GBC. You could tell them, "I collected £5 million yesterday, by the way. I think you could show me a bit more respect." You're nothing to them. You're just right now here, and according to how you're approaching them is how they're going to react to you. So you're getting a really good reflection. You're getting really good feedback. It's not like they're out to get you, right? You just approach them. They don't know you from Adam. And they just say, "I don't like you. You're really proud and you're really pushy." And you go, "Oh, right, okay. I have to take that on board, you know." Or you know, or they really like you. They really trust you. So yeah, the audience is responding to how you're approaching them also. Any other questions or comments? Yes. Panchatattva Prabhu.
Thank you, bro. This idea of like preaching or offering siksha, and we find that, I mean, I've even experienced personally, you can, you know, like on Sankirtan, you can get some realization. Someone says something to you in the street, and you're like, "Okay, I need to take that on board." Or similarly, I've found that I've been talking to devotees, some of them have been more senior than myself, but then I've said something that they've resonated with. You see in this way that, you know, Krishna is using different people just as instruments to sort of give instructions.
Yeah.
See if you could comment more on that, how to become more of an instrument for Krishna to sort of use.
If I understood your question correctly, you were saying that Krishna uses advanced and not so advanced devotees as instruments to communicate information and advice and instruction to devotees, and that doesn't necessarily have to be the older devotee instructing the younger one. Sometimes the younger one could be giving some valid feedback for the older one. And how can we be more than just being an instrument that Krishna is using us? How to be an instrument. Yeah, how to be an instrument. Well, there's a book called The Nectar of Book Distribution, and there's different inserts by different devotees, and there's one by Gauri Devi Dasi. She was a Prabhupada disciple. She left her body in Vrindavan, she had cancer, but she was like a very realized devotee, you know. And when she did Sankirtan, she did the smallest. She was worse than anybody else at Sankirtan. And she was completely the wrong way with people, she said. She used to like chase them up the road, and she said she felt like she was chasing them with a big hypodermic needle, trying to stick it in them. And they didn't want her to do it, and she didn't want to do it. And the whole thing was painful and horrible. That's what it was first like for her on Sankirtan. But she kept seeing the other devotees were really relishing it and enjoying it. And she was thinking, why can't I be like that also? If they can do it, surely I can do it, you know? So she kept praying to Krishna, can you make me get into it like those, you know? And she said one day it just changed like that. Her whole Sankirtan career changed. And she didn't feel heavy anymore and threatening anymore. And she wasn't like all philosophical and intellectual anymore. She was completely light and happy and jolly with people. And she realized at that point she'd been blessed by Lord Chaitanya, you know, to be able to do it. And the realization she got when she was doing really, really big was that Krishna would take it away as soon as she thought she was being the doer. And she said, so it was really, the pressure was really on. When she was doing really well, that was when she really had to be conscious that this isn't me. Because if she did start thinking like that, Krishna would have to take it away from her, because it would create pride and that would hurt his devotee. And he doesn't want his devotee to be hurt. So Krishna can only give what you can take. And so therefore he holds you back and he keeps you doing tiny and not much is seen to happen. Because if he does give you too much, then maybe you'll become offensive and proud, and then that will ruin your bhakti. So when we're getting somewhere on Sankirtan or getting somewhere in any field of devotional service, we have to be really, really conscious that this is not me, that this is Krishna doing this, and don't let the false ego take over, you know. But it's really, it's very, very hard to not, you know, be like that. That's the challenge. The quicker you can do it, then the better you'll do automatically, you know. But it's yeah, it's a tricky one. It's like Arjuna. Even he fought like unbelievably on the battlefield, you know, etc. So then afterwards, Krishna took everything away from him, so that he was fully aware it was Krishna, it wasn't me, you know. Shishikona Mai Prashashi ki jai. Shri Tulsinath Maharaj ki jai, Shri Giridhar Lal ki jai, Shri Singre Bhagavan ki jai, Shri Mati Vrindadevi ki jai, Shri Garudadev ki jai, Gaur Premanandi Haribo. Question? Comment? I think you've got half a one. You've got that, I've got half a question, look. The pressure's on. Interestingly, he was bereaved and he had the opportunity, but he didn't take it. And then all these other ones that weren't so qualified, because Daksha means expert. He was really expert, but being expert isn't the qualification. There we go. We got there in the end.
Hare Krishna, thank you. I'm wondering then, Daksha, Prajapati Daksha, why couldn't he see that this was actually a blessing for his kids? I know he had his duty, his dharma on his material plane, but surely he could see in some respect that this is actually a good thing.
Yeah, well, it's quite heavy where it says. It says, he says that they'd left this world. What does it make you think of when they say he's left this world? Imagine if you said, I'm just trying to find Johnny. Have you seen Johnny anywhere? And they say, I'm sorry, he's left this world. You know, and then, no, he's become a Hare Krishna. Oh, I thought you meant he was dead, you know. So it's practically the same as most actions concerned. It's like, oh, just shot all your sons. I hope, is that okay? You're okay with that, eh? That's what it was like to him. And he was using his sons as a vehicle for his desires. So parents are quite often, the reason why the parents don't want their kids to take it up, devotional service, isn't so much because they're that concerned about the kids' welfare. It's because they were going to do the things that they couldn't do through their kids. They got all these desires. They couldn't fulfill them directly themselves. So, okay, I'm going to bring you up and you're going to be the vehicle for my desires. And through you doing them, that will fulfill my desires. So you're so fixed on your plan. And they say if you want to make God laugh, then tell him your plans. So, you know, Krishna, he's having his son's Daksha, and he's thinking, he's looking at the little babies in the pram, thinking, oh, you're going to be making so much progeny for me. It's going to be fantastic, you know. And Krishna's laughing. No, they're not. So you have your plan, you see. So the quicker you can find out what Krishna's plan is, the less chance of getting depressed. Usually the depression is due to unreasonable expectations causes depression. So if you're aware of what Krishna's got in store for you, or you pray to Krishna, please Krishna, can you light up the road a little bit so that I can see what it is, you know? It's compared to the traveler who's lost in the forest and he doesn't know which way to go, and he's lost his iPhone, and his compass isn't working, and he's just wandering around, and it's pitch black. He doesn't even know whether he's just going round in circles, you know. And then suddenly there's a thunderstorm, and a bolt of lightning goes across the heavens, and for one split second, everything is as clear as day. And he can see the path, he can see the pitfall, he can see the sign saying home this way, 30 miles, and then it goes black again. But he can remember he's had that epiphany, and he's, okay, so I'm making good progress here. I just need to keep going in this direction. So it's like that also with us in devotional service. Sometimes it's not so clear, and we're just hanging on for that next bolt of lightning so that everything can become illuminated again, you know, so that we can go along the path. But if we're very, very attached to what our plans are and what we want to happen, then even though the bolt of lightning goes on, we'll be facing the wrong direction. We won't even see it. So they in the Bhagavatam are not just the personalities that are going to show us the right thing to do. There's also personalities in there showing us this is the wrong thing to do. Now this is this is how you do the wrong thing, and this is how you do the right thing. So this is how you get yourself into a situation where you're so mixed up that you don't see Krishna's hand anymore in what's going on. You don't see his plan. You've just got your idea, your desire, and your plan, and that closes everything down. And then even Narada Muni walks into the temple room. Pip, today I'd like you to peel 15 tons of potatoes. No. And they're saying, but Pip, it's Narada Muni, you know, it must be a good thing, you know. Well, that wasn't my plan today. Not 15 tons of potatoes. I had other ideas, you know. So then you don't get to appreciate. I mean, Daksha could have thought, wow, you know, this is a great opportunity here. Narada Muni, you know, he's going to instruct me now. I'm so fortunate. But he had his own plans, what he wanted to happen. And eventually he does get to fulfill his plans. It does happen. Krishna makes the arrangement for him so that it can happen. Although he goes through quite a lot of different disturbances through the pages of the Bhagavatam. So if you want to take the road of material enjoyment, material desire, then it's a much more rocky road than taking the road of devotional service. Although there are still rocks on the road of devotional service, there's still obstacles, still obstructions, but at least you're making progress. You're going in the right direction, you know. What's the point of making all that endeavor? I mean, he makes all this endeavor, and then eventually he does populate the universe, you know, and get good progeny, which is you know, somebody has to do it. If he had decided to take Narada Muni's instructions and gone celibate, then Lord Brahma would have had to find somebody else. But it's interesting, there's another story of Lord Brahma comes down to tell a king who was going to go celibate and go into the forest. He says, no, if you do that, the whole plan will get messed up. And then Krishna says, no, it's okay, you can do it. I sanction it, you can do it. So under Krishna's sanction, do you know the name of the king? Was it King Agnitra? I've just been reading about it now. So on the assurance of Krishna, then he says, okay, I'll do it, you know. So if Daksha had done that, then it would have been fine, but he didn't. So, yeah, the ability to appreciate that it's the Lord's special mercy There's a nice letter by Srila Prabhupada, and this devotee is saying, "Oh, I don't think I should. Maybe I should get married, and I don't whether I should do this service, and whether I should be in this temple." And Srila Prabhupada writes back, and he says, "The secret of Krishna consciousness is to understand that where you are right now is Krishna's special mercy. Who you're with, what you're doing right now is Krishna's special mercy. Not looking at this and thinking, oh, this is a bit rubbish, but if it was like this, and I was like him over there, and I was doing that, that definitely be Krishna's mercy. No, this right now, Krishna's not, he's not spaced out and, arranged everybody else perfectly, and then been absent-minded with you. Oh, did he want the red car? Oh, sorry about that. I went and got him a white banger. He wanted a red Lamborghini. And you're like looking at Krishna. What part of red Lamborghini did you not understand? You give me this banger that's falling apart. So Krishna's mercy is an acquired taste. Sometimes it takes patience as well. On reflection, you can always see it's Krishna's mercy. But at the time, or in foresight, then it's usually a little bit more tricky. If you could you imagine how fired up you would be if you could really, really understand that this is, Krishna's made this arrangement for me. That is so kind of him, Shishikotaya Mahapashashiki. And that's what Krishna consciousness really means, appreciating this. It's interesting, it juxtaposes devotional service with receiving mercy. Did anyone catch that? And Srila Prabhupada kind of juxtaposes that. So what can happen sometimes is you say the same thing over and over again. It doesn't mean anything anymore. Oh, you should just be Krishna conscious. You should just be Krishna. But what does it mean? Really, what does it mean? Living appreciation, being aware that Krishna's being kind to you. That it's always Krishna's kindness. He's being very kind. And being able to tap into that and see,
So, I'm wondering, in the Bhagavad Gita, then Krishna tells Arjuna that it's better to perform your own duty imperfectly than someone else's duty perfectly.
Yeah.
So considering that Brahma had hired Prajapati Daksha in order to have sons to populate the planet, then was it not the duty of the sons to then have children? And why was it that they were able to not follow through this duty and do something else?
Yeah, it is the Dharma. There's Dharma, Artha, Moksha, and Karma. Yeah, like the four pursuits of human life. So following religiously what you're supposed to be doing, and you're supposed to follow the spiritual master. But when Bali Maharaj was advised by Sukacharya, he said, just say that you do this little twist on it, and then you won't have to give him anything. Just say that. And Bali said, no, I'm not going to do that. So he rejected his spiritual master in favor, even though he did get everything taken off him, and then he was pushed down to the hellish planets. Everything was really, and it would look like, well, that was the wrong decision to make. Everything's gone really bad for you. So having the transcendental perspective, Bali Maharaj was just relishing the fact that the Lord had come to beg this from him, and he was more than willing to reciprocate, with whatever the Lord wanted. So you may have all your different reasons, moralistic reasons, mundane moralistic reasons, and Arjuna was being shown, but I want you to do this, although you've got all these different arguments. I'm asking you to do it, and to go ahead with that. So abandon all varieties of religion. And religion's the highest, so if you're abandoning that, then you're abandoning everything lower than that, all the degraded desires, they're automatically being abandoned, because the topmost is to follow religious principles and follow your duty, and you should behave like this, and if your father says it, you should obey it. They're all on the top. And then, even them, abandon them and just surrender unto me. So sometimes with devotees, they can get a little bit, they can sometimes find themselves in moralistic, mundane dilemmas, because it would seem, well, you know, if we do this, 50 caterpillars will get killed, and that's not a good thing. I want to be non-violent, you know. But then then all the potatoes or the cauliflowers get eaten, whatever it is, you know. So pleasing Krishna, satisfying Krishna. And it's clear from this that obviously Krishna's going to be more pleased, isn't he? If everybody in the universe says, look, I'm going to forget everything I'm supposed to be doing now, I just want to take up. But then Krishna may say, well, you just want to do what I want? Yeah, okay, well, I want you to produce progeny to populate the universe. But you'd have to bounce it off Krishna first. I want you to stay back. I want you to go out. I want you to stay in this temple. I want you to go here. I want you to do that. Okay, well, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? There was a couple once, they were having this fight, Grihasta couple. There was a devotee in the next room and he could hear them, you know, and they were really going for it. And at one point he can hear the husband screaming. He goes, what do you want? There's this pregnant silence, and then you just hear, a lot. So that's what it is with us, you know. It's not what I want. It's not about me. It's all about you. What is that? Only a fool thinks that this world spins on the blind man's point of view. It's not about me. It's all about you.
There's this online question from Aman.
Hare Krishna, Aman. Hare Bol.
Hey, Bol. What do you think of free will and a person's tendency to be a little self-destructive?
I think it's really sad. Yet, it's our free will that's caused all the problems in the first place. And it's okay to say to Krishna, look, I don't know what to do with this free will. Can you just put me in a no-choice situation? Just put a ball and chain around me and keep me in this situation, because I'm too crazy to make up my own decision what to do. So just take the free will away from me, put me in a situation where I don't have a choice and I just have to do the right thing. So you can pray like that. You can use your free will to ask Krishna to protect you from your free will. Because you may realize, well, it's like giving somebody a really fast car, you know, you can go 500 miles an hour. And you can put these governors in cars so that they only do 60 miles an hour. And you realize, if I get in this car at 500 miles an hour, and I'm going to just go crazy, I'm just going to go all over the place in it, you know. So you put a governor so that the fastest it can go is 60 miles an hour. So your free will is allowing you to go anywhere and everywhere and do anything and anything you want. And it's interesting the way the demoniac person thinks. In the 16th chapter, I have killed him and I will kill him in the future. This is how the demoniac person thinks. He's thinking, well, to prove that there is no God, I'm going to go around killing people. And the fact that I can do that proves that there's no God, because otherwise he would have stopped me. So that's how they use their free will to substantiate that they're the ones that are in control. And that there's no more, you know, of all the ways you can exert your controllership, killing people is the most intense way, you know. I've just killed 500 people. So therefore I mean, you know, nobody could stop me, you know. So that's what extreme free will spirals out into some very weird and wonderful situations. Whereas we can just nip this in the bud right away. Okay, look, I don't want free will. I want you to guide me. I want to be an instrument in your hands. I want you to show me which way to go and what to do, you know. After all, you're my origin. You know what I'm best suited to do. You know what my real abilities are. You know what I'm capable of. You know my potential. We think that we're going to really access our potential using our free will. No one's going to stop me. I'm going to do what I need to do, and I'm going to really exert my potential. But that's not how you do it. That's not how you'll tap into because your real potential is only something that you can show when you're empowered. There's Jiva Tattva, Shakti Tattva, Vishnu Tattva, and Guru Tattva. And Guru Tattva, and everybody has to become Guru. Prabhupada wants us all to make 10,000 disciples, by the way, in case you forgot. You can only be Guru Tattva if you get the mercy of Balaram or you get the mercy of Radharani. And then you become empowered by them. And then you're able to say the right thing at the right time to the right person. You're able. So we can have our free will or we can become gurus. And the guru isn't the boss, the master. Guru means everyone's servant. He's facilitating everyone's devotional service, encouraging everyone, inspiring everyone to do devotional service. So it's the hardest thing to do, to be a guru, because it means you have to serve everybody else. And give up the propensity to criticize, the propensity to put people down. You're always trying to encourage the person, Whatever they do, you always find a way of encouraging them. That's what guru is. So that's using the free will properly, and then misuse of free will. So we want to become Guru Tattva. We want to be used. Just like you go and you do Sankirtan, then you're working under the influence of Guru Tattva. You stop the right person, you say the right thing, you engage them as fully as possible in devotional service. Then you're like, it's interesting the word initiate, because when you stop somebody and ask them to take a book, you initiated that situation. So you're guru. Guru means one who initiates. You initiate the situation. Or if you're back here and you're saying, Prabhu, can we do this? And we're going to do this now. And you get people to do it, then you're initiating that situation. You're initiating them into some devotional service. So to initiate, you have to take the initiative. And they say the two enemies of human society are docility and irresponsibility. Why didn't you pick it up? It's not. I didn't drop it. Yeah, but you walked past it for 5 weeks without picking it up. But didn't you think you could? It's not my service. It's like docility and irresponsibility. The two enemies that will bring human extinction is docility and irresponsibility. Well, why didn't you? I spaced out. Why did you space out? I forgot my watch. You forgot. Why did you forget your watch? Because I couldn't be bothered. You finally get to what it is. Couldn't be bothered. So if you can't be bothered, then you'll get your free will taken away from you anyway, because the maternal energy will bind you up, and then you'll have so little free will that you'll be just sliding along on your belly as a slug. So, what happened to him? Do you remember Bhakta Sam? He's a slug now. I told you, he should have just done what he was told. So if you don't use the free will properly, then you become so bound up you have no free will. You only have the free will to slide over there or slide over there. Jai. Iskon Guru in the key. Shil Prabhupada ki. Gaur Premanandi Haribol.
Jai.